This is Dr.T Vara Lakshmi discussing you the elasticity of the demand, its definition, and the types of this elasticity of the demand. So, demand is the value assigning to the product based on the time period, situation, place, and the price, income levels of the people. Okay. So, this demand is going to be, or the value assigning by the people is going to be changing as per the determinant factors. For example, if the price of the product changes, the value assigning might be changes. Price increases, the value assigning to the product might be reduces. If the price reduces, the value assigning to the product might be increases. So which means certain factors are all there that has its impact on the product demand. So that demand determinant factors like price, income, price changes of the other products, substitutable products, complementary products, future estimations towards that product availability as well as the prices of that product, market conditions, government policies, national income of the country, cultures, political factors, all these are all having its impact on the demand of a product. That impacting factor is called as the elasticity of the demand, which means how the price is going to be having its impact on the demand of a product. So is it going to be having a negative impact or positive impact? Again, on that impact, is it going to be have the more impact or the less impact, or only as per the impact of the change in the prices has the same impact on the demand of a product? It is like how it is going to be have its impact on the product of a demand determinant, and its impact on the product is called as the elasticity of the demand. So an elasticity of the demand is a change in the quantity demanded due to a change in its determinant factor like the price, income, government policies, etc., etc. So we are for the best understanding of this one, we can see the example of a rubber band. A rubber band, if we put some pressure, a less pressure will has more expansion on the structure of that particular rubber band. At the same time, if a metal hook is there, even if we have more pressure on that one, but a very significant change in this shape of that particular metal, that one. So which means the pressure which is applying on any element is not equivalent in changing of that particular element. The same way, the determinant factors impact on the demand of a product might have the more impact on this quantity demanded of a product, or may have the less impact on the quantity demanded of a product. So that impacting factor of determinant element on the quantity demanded of a product is called as the elasticity of the demand. It is going to be measuring with the help of the formula, that is a percentage change in the demand dependent economic factor divided by a percentage change in this driving economic factor. So that is, so dependent economic factor. So the quantity demanded of a product is depending on certain determinant factors. So that's why here the determinant factor we can say as quantity demanded of a product. Quantity demanded of a product, that divided by the percentage change in. So percentage change in we will indicates with us delta. So a change in that one divided by change in the driving economic factor. So which means price is one of the driving economic factor of the demand. Price is one of the economic factor. Income is one of the deriving factor. Prices of the other products. So income, so all these are all having its impact on the demand of a product, and their impact on the quantity demanded of a product is called as the elasticity of the demand. So this is going to be calculating or denoting with the letter E. So the elasticity of the demand is going to be denoting with a letter E. That's the formula is percentage change in quantity demanded of a product X divided by the percentage change in the determinant factor, that is Z. So symbolically they can say that delta Q divided by Q whole divided by delta Z divided by Z. So where the Z might be the price of the same commodity or the price of the another commodity, income of the households, government policies, national income of the country. So like this, so advertisement towards that particular product, etc. is going to be taking as a Z factor. So for the best example, let us assume that the price of a product X is 10 rupees, whereas it has at that time the people was purchasing a quantity of 20 products. Then if the price is changed to 20 rupees, then the people are purchasing only 15 number of the product. Assume that the people are purchasing 15 number of the products. Then the change in this quantity, that is 20 to 15 means 5, it is reduced out of 20. Out of 20, that is Q1 whole divided by, so the price in the change in the price is 10 rupees out of 10. So that is 25% of the reduction, 25% of the reduction in the quantity demanded of a product. So quantity demanded for the product is 25% reduction. So due to the 100% increase in the price of the commodity. So that is the calculation or the measurements for the elasticity of the demand. So we can take any example, that is the income we can take, that is how the previous income and what kind of goods they have, how much of goods they have purchased, and what is the what is the increased or decreased percentage of the income and its impact on the quantity demanded of a product. So like this we can calculate the quantity demanded of a product based on the determinant factor of the product. So based on the measurement of the elasticity of the demand, so the demand can be measured in 5 ways. One is perfectly elasticity of the demand, where the elasticity coefficient will be of infinity. So where the elasticity coefficient will be of infinity, and it is called as perfectly elastic demand. If the elastic coefficient is 0, which it doesn't have the impact on the quantity demanded of a product, then it will be called as perfectly inelastic demand. And if the elasticity coefficient is 1, then we can say it as unit elasticity of the demand. And if the elastic coefficient is more than 1, then it will be called as relative elastic demand. And if the elastic coefficient is less than the 1, then it will be called as relative inelasticity of the demand. Okay, so the perfectly elastic. So elastic demand means, so there is a drastic change in the quantity demanded of a product perfectly. So which means a small change in the determinant factor, a small change in the determinant factor will has its more impact on the quantity demanded of a product. So for example, let us take quantity on x-axis of a graph and price or any determinant factor of the demand on y-axis of the graph. So because all the dependents will be on x-axis and independents will be on y-axis. So price is an independent, whereas based on the price, the quantity is going to be determining. So that's why the dependent factor is on x-axis. So quantity demanded. So let us say if the price was a P1 value, the people were purchasing the Q1 quantity, and if the price is very minutely changed, which is negligible or a 0.001%, it has changed. So that's why with a thick line it is indicating, but there is a huge demand for that product and it is increased from Q1 to Q2. So a minute change in the price which leads to the more change in the quantity demanded of a product, which means it has more impact on the quantity demanded of a product. It has more elasticity. So that kind of the determinant factor is called as perfectly elasticity of the demand here, where the economic coefficient of for this one is infinity. The next thing is perfectly inelasticity of the demand, which means there is no change in the quantity demanded of a product. Even there is a more considerable change in the determinant factor of the product. So for example, so price is on the same y-axis. So when the P1 price was there, people were purchasing the same quantity of that one. Even if the price increased to P2, the same, instead of reducing the quantity, the people are purchasing the same quantity, but a minute change, 1 or 2 products changes, that's it only. But the more or less the same quantity of the goods that they are purchasing, then that kind of this phenomena will be called as perfectly inelasticity of the demand. So third one is unit elasticity. And unit elasticity means the equivalent change in the determinant factor will has the same change in the quantity demanded of a product. So for example, if the people was purchasing Q1 quantity at P1 price, and if the price is increased to P2 and the same Q2 quantity, it is reduced. So it is reduced. So which means unit elasticity means a 10% increase in the price will lead to the same 10% reduction in the quantity demanded of a product. So a small change, so no change in the price, it leads to the more change in the quantity demanded of that one, perfectly elastic. So if no change in the quantity demanded leads to the change in this price, then it is called as perfectly inelastic. But as equal change in this determinant factor and the quantity demanded is called as the unit elasticity of the demand. And the next thing is relatively elasticity of the demand. Here relatively there is an elasticity, which means coefficient is more than 1. So a change in the determinant factor a change in the quantity demanded of a product is more than the change in the determinant factor. So which means 10% increase in the price may lead to more than 10%, that is 20% of the decrease in the quantity demanded of a product. So actually the price is changed by 10% only, but relatively it is also changing, but more than this changing it is going to be impacting. So that is called as, so people was purchasing the Q1 quantity at P1 price. This is the one. A small change may lead to the more quantity demanded of a product. So that is the relatively elasticity of the demand. Here the coefficient, economic coefficient will be more than 1, greater than 1. So next, the fifth one of these measurements of this elasticity of the demand is relatively inelasticity of the demand. Here the relatively inelasticity of the demand means a change in the quantity demanded is less than the change in the determinant factor of the product. So which means, let us say 10% increase in the price may lead to only a 5%, that is less than 10% change in the quantity demanded of a product. quantity demanded of a product. So the change in the price is more, but the quantity change is very less. So that is called as the relatively inelasticity of the demand. So that is the 5 kinds of this elasticity of demands. That is perfectly elasticity of the demand, perfectly inelasticity of the demand, unit elasticity of the demand, relative elasticity of the demand, and relative inelasticity of the demand. So these were all the measures of this elasticity of the demand. The next thing is, based on these measures and based on the determinant factors, the types of the elasticity of the demand is categorized as 5 elements. One is the price elasticity of the demand, income elasticity of the demand, cross elasticity of the demand, advertisement elasticity of the demand, future expectations on the product elasticity of the demand. Not only this, we can say all the determinant factors applicability on the elasticity of the demand is called as the types of the elasticity of the demand. So like government policies elasticity of the demand, taxation policies elasticity of the demand, population size elasticity of the demand, income of the country's elasticity of the demand, like this. So all the determinant factors have impact on the elasticity of the demand. That each and every factor's impact or its measurements is called as this types of this elasticity of the demand. In this one, first and foremost element is the price elasticity of the demand. Okay. So the price elasticity of the demand is the degree of the responsiveness of the quantity demanded of a commodity due to the change in the price. Other thing remains the constant. So because in the assumption of the law of the demand itself, we said that if one determinant is going to be having its impact on the any demanded of a product, other remains constant, which means if the price elasticity of the demand is existing in the market, we have to assume that if the law of the demand has to hold good, the income, advertisement, government policies, the future expectations, the other commodity prices, taste and preferences of the people, everything remains constant. Only one thing it is changing, that is the price of the commodity is only changing. So that's why it is the degree of the quantity demanded element changes due to the price of that commodity, where the other factors remains constant. So here mathematically it expresses with a formula of a percentage change in the quantity demanded of a product divided by a percentage change in the price of the product. Symbolically it can be expressed with EP, that is elasticity of the price is equals to quantity demanded change divided by quantity demanded in the change in the price of that commodity into price divided by Q. So where EP stands for price elasticity of the demand, Q original quantity demanded of the product, delta Q change in the quantity demanded, P original price, delta P change in the price. Types of the price elasticity of demand. So again, certain categories are all there, like the same perfectly elastic, perfectly inelastic, unit, relative. All these are all habits impact on the elasticity of the demand. That is perfectly price elasticity of the demand. So where the price is constant, but a change, people are purchasing the quantity demanded for the product is Q1 to Q2 or Q2 Q1. So initially the people were purchasing the Q quantity at a given price. A small or the negligible change of a change in the price will lead to the more quantity demanded of a product. So this is called as demand curve. So this red line is called as the demand curve. So where the PED, the price elasticity of the demand is infinite. So this kind of the elasticity will be called as perfectly elasticity of the demand. So generally in necessary goods, So in necessary goods, even if the prices changes or not, so same prices are all available, the people needs increases, then the quantity demanded for the product will also be increases. If the population increases, the necessary goods will be quantity consumption will be increases from Q to Q1, even if the price is same. That is called as perfectly elasticity of the demand. The second element is perfectly inelasticity of the demand, which means the people are purchasing the same quantity even there is a drastical change in the uh, price of the product. So if when the people was at the P, they were purchasing the Q quantity. Even if the prices increases, the people are purchasing the same quantity. So which means the elasticity is zero. The demand for the elasticity is zero. So the quantity demanded for the product is become zero. So that is called as the perfectly inelasticity of the demand. So here the basic or any day-to-day consumption of the goods which they are using for this one. So same quantity they will purchase even if the price increases or reduces. So vegetables, rice, etc. they will purchases in the same quantity even if the prices are all changes drastically. And the next thing is unitary elasticity of the demand. That is unit elasticity of the demand. So that means, so if the people are purchasing the Q quantity at a given price, then if the price is increased from P to P1, then the quantity is also reduces from Q to Q1. So once if we see the distance between the P and P1 might be equals to the distance between the Q and Q1. So which means a 10% or the 100% change in the price will lead to the 100% reduction in the quantity demanded of a product. So that case is called as unitary elasticity of the demand. Unitary elasticity of the demand. Then relatively elasticity of the demand. So here the people who are purchasing the Q quantity at the given price P, a change in this P to P1 will lead to the more change in the Q to Q1. So once if we observe the distance between the P and P1 is less than the distance between the Q and Q1. So which means the price elasticity of the demand is more than 1. So it is greater than 1. So this kind of the elasticity of the demand is called as relatively elasticity of the demand. And so price, the next fifth one is price relatively inelasticity of the demand. So here the price elasticity of the demand is less than 1. So if the people were purchasing the Q quantity at the given price P, then more change in the price leads to the less change in the quantity demanded of a product. So here that is called as relatively inelasticity of the demand. Relatively inelasticity of the demand. So that is about the types of price elasticity of the demand. So once if we sum all these 5 elements, so elasticity of, if the elasticity of the price is infinity, then it will be called as perfectly elasticity of the demand, that is change in the demand is infinite at a given price. So here the shape of the demand curve we have seen horizontal. The shape of the demand curve is horizontal to x-axis. To the x-axis it is horizontal. If the elasticity of the price is 0, then it is called as the perfectly inelasticity of the demand, where the demand remains unchanged, where it will be changes in the price. Here the demand curve is vertical to the x-axis. So it is vertical to the x-axis. When if the elasticity of the price is a 1, and it is called as unitary elasticity of the demand, that is a percentage change in the quantity demanded is equivalent to the percentage change in the price change in the product, and here it is rectangular hyperbola shape of the demand curve we have observed. And if the elasticity of the price is between 0 to 1, and that too less than 1, then it is called as inelasticity of the demand, where the change in the quantity demanded is less than the change in the price of the product, and a steeper shape of the demand curve we have observed on these curves. And if the elasticity of the price is more than 1, then it is called as elasticity of relative elasticity of the demand. Here the change in the quantity is more than the change in the price of the product. A flatter demand curve we have observed in the graph of this price elasticity of demand. So that is the types of 5 types of the elasticity of the demand under degrees and shape of the curves. Once if we observe this, some of the best examples for the price elasticity of the demand. So if take the example of the petrol. Petrol has many, petrol requirement is there for many products. That is for the car, bikes, railways, for a train, everywhere. Most of the cases it is multiple using for the petrol, and where only one substitutable is there, that is the diesel for that one, and mostly sometimes in some cases there is no alternative for the petrol. So even if the petrol prices increases, the people will purchase the same quantity, less consumption might be changes. So that is called as perfectly inelasticity of the demand. So perfectly inelasticity of the demand we can see. The next thing is, so because the people will purchase the same quantity even if the price of the petrol is increases or decreases, then a goods which are produced by the monopoly sectors, which means only one seller is there and no other buyers are all there. So at that time also, even if the price of the commodity increases, the people will purchase the same quantity of the product because that is available only one product and no other competitors are all exist to that product. And the same way salt. So in the case of the salt, there is no alternatives and it is also has the multiple purposes. So again, it will buy the same quantity based on the income of the people. And the tap water as well as the electricity is also the best examples. Here it is a necessary goods. So here, even if the government increases the tap water prices or the electricity bills, people will try to purchase, consume the same levels as per their requirements. And diamonds, it is also a very rare product and cut prices, and it is somehow luxury products. If the price increases, then the people wants to buy that one, the same quantity consumer levels, or it might be increases. Or in a peak stages, rail tickets are also. So if the people are the government announces the lockdown situations or any festival seasons, people are ready to purchase this rail tickets, even if the price, a small change in the price will lead to the larger demand of the rail tickets by the consumers. So that is the some of the considerable examples for the price elasticity of the demand. The next thing is income elasticity of the demand. Income elasticity of the demand. So next determinant factor, considerable determinant factor on the demand of a product is income elasticity of the demand, income elasticity of the households. So it is a change in the income of the households and its impact on the quantity demanded of a product is called as the income elasticity of the demand. So here it is going to be denoting by the formula of a percentage change in the demand quantity divided by a percentage change in the income of the consumers. So same as this previous ones, we can denote with change in the quantity demanded divided by quantity whole divided by a percentage change in the income of the households divided by income. So the same, this formula also we can use or same like instead of this quantity D1 and D0. So different terminology have used, but the concept is same. So here once if we see the inferior goods, if the people will think that it is a low grade product, there is a negative income elasticity, which means income increases, the consumption of the inferior goods will be reduces. The demand for the inferior goods will be reduces. That kind of the income elasticity of the demand is called as negative income elasticity of the demand. If it is a necessary products, even if the income increases or the decreases, the same level of the consumption of the products they'll consume, then it is called as zero income elasticity of the demand. So zero elasticity of the demand. So here the income is not having its impact on the quantity demanded of the product. If there are normal goods like the clothes and everything, there might be some positive impact on the income changes for the quantity demanded of a product. That is, if the income increases, the people will purchase some other number of the goods, watches, electronic gadgets, mobile phones, etc. If it is a luxury product, then it has a more impact. So that is a perfectly elasticity. If the income increases, then the people wants to purchase more luxurious products. Then it is more than the relative elasticity of the demand. So that is based on this. Again, the product, the income elasticity of the demand is again categorized into 5 elements. That is high income elasticity of the demand, unitary elasticity of the demand, low elasticity of the demand, zero elasticity of the demand, and negative elasticity of the demand. So the first thing is high elasticity of the demand. So that is, if the people are purchasing a Q quantity at yielding of Y, if their yielding is increases to some Y2, Y1, so less, but the quantity consumption will be more. The quantity consumption will be more. So then that is called as high elasticity income, high income elasticity of the demand. High income elasticity of the demand. Here it will be denotes with yielding elasticity of the demand, or in some textbook we can find IED also, income elasticity of the demand. IED or YED. Y stands for yielding and PED stands for price elasticity of the demand. So this is the demand curve. This red line is always called as this demand curve. Then unitary elasticity of the demand. A change in the income levels is equivalent to the change in this quantity demanded of a product. The same levels it is there, then that is called as unitary elasticity of the demand. Then a change in the income is less than the change in the quantity demanded of a product. That is relatively inelastic. That is low elasticity of the demand. And here the zero elasticity means which even there is a change in the income doesn't have the no change in the quantity demanded of a product. Then it is called as zero elasticity of the demand or perfectly inelasticity of the demand. And negative elasticity of the demand. So generally if the income increases, the quantity demanded has to increase, but instead of that one it is decreased. So at Y the people were purchasing, at the yielding one the people were purchasing Q quantity, and if their income increases, the people are reduced its consumption. In the case of the inferior goods we have observed. So that elasticity of the demand is called as negative income elasticity of the demand. So that is the 5 elements or the 5 types of the income elasticity of the demand. And the next third category of the elasticity of the demand is cross elasticity of the demand. So cross elasticity of the demand. So which means here the two products are all going to be comparing. So that is quantity of the one product and the determinant factor of the another product. So let us say Y product prices impact on the X product demand. That Y might be a complementary product to the X, or Y might be a substitutable product to the X. So in these two cases, again the cross elasticity will be applicable for the two cases, substitutable products as well as for the no related products and complementary products. So in three ways the product has its impact on the X of the product. So that is one product's determinant factor, price determinant factor impact on the quantity demanded of another product is called as the cross elasticity of the demand. So that is going to be denoting with this EXY. EXY, that is percentage change in the quantity demanded of a product X divided by a percentage change in the price of the Y commodity. Previously, price elasticity means only X commodity's price only we have taken, but in the cross elasticity the demand, the price of the Y commodity is going to be taken into the consideration. So that is the cross elasticity of the demand. So here we can denote with the three ones. One is in the case of substitutable products. In the case of the substitutable products, a change in the determinant factor of the product from X, the people were purchasing the Y quantity, and a same change in the price increase might be leads to the same change in the percentage quantity demanded for a product Y. So for example, substitutable products, let us say coffee and tea. Coffee and tea. So here there is a coffee price is increased. Then there is a more demand for the tea consumption. Even if the tea prices increases, then there is a more demand for the same percentage of the demand for the coffee. So that is the substitutable goods. Once if we take the example of the complementary goods, so here if the price of one commodity is increases, then automatically it has a negative impact on its complementary goods. For example, if the price of the car is increased, then the demand will be reduces automatically. For the tires also demand will be reduces, because its impact is on the next, that's complementary goods product. So that is the in the case of cross elasticity of the demand, in the case of the complementary goods. Then if it is there two products are all unrelated products, there is no dependency or the independency for these two products. X is separate, Y is separate. Then even if the change in this product X may doesn't have the impact on the quantity demanded of a product Y. So that is why the demand remains constant as change in the product X. So that is the cross elasticity of the demand. The next element is advertisement elasticity of the demand. So that is generally advertisement is an expenditure, so that it denotes with AED, advertisement elasticity of the demand. So a proportionate change in the advertisement expenditures and its impact on the proportionate change in the demand of a product is called as the advertisement elasticity of the demand. So here is also, so there might be for example advertisement expenditures, if they are all spending at advertisement expenditure at X, people were purchasing Q quantity. If the advertisement expenditures increases to X1, the people might be increase their quantity to Q2. Or that is called as unit advertisement elasticity of the demand. Or sometimes it may be lesser also. So X1 to Q1 only, it might be lesser also. That is relatively inelastic. Or it might be more than the quantity expected also. That is called as relatively inelasticity of the advertisement elasticity. And if sometimes it is constant, the same quantity the people are purchasing for the given, even if the change in the advertisement elasticity. So that is called as the perfectly inelasticity of the advertisement expenditure. Then if no change in the advertisement expenditure might lead to the more demand of a product, that is again called as this perfectly elasticity advertisement, as perfectly advertisement elasticity of the demand. So which means same as that one. So reminding also, if the government increases the tax rates, there might be less demand for the product. Tax rate reduces, more demand for the product. So like this, we can apply to all the determinant factors to the elasticity of the demand and the expenditures. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.